Welcome to the Casey Ingram Show Meet Your Candidate series. No spin, no agenda, no endorsements, just the candidate. Before I begin, I'd like to thank the many listeners who submitted questions for this interview. Several of those questions have been incorporated into today's discussion. Questions are not shared with the candidates prior to the interview. If you enjoy the show and would like to stay informed on local issues and elections, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm Casey Ingram. Let's get into it. Eula Clarke is running for City of Stuart Commission, Group 5. Welcome back to the show again, Eula. It's always good to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Stacy. Thank you for welcoming me to your show again. Thank you.
Always my pleasure. So we'll get right into the questions. Let me know if you continue to have sound issues. What motivated you to seek re-election for this office, and why should Stuart voters choose you over your opponents?
My motivation is the fact that I am still on the city commission. I serve, and I want to continue to serve. There are many projects that are in the pipeline that I'd like to see finish while am still serving on the commission, and there are many things that need to be done. And especially now running for the commission, I hear so many things from so many residents. What was the second part of that question?
So the second part of that question is, why should voters choose you over your opponents?
Well, again, I am experienced. I've been on the commission since 2011. I've seen the commission through many changes, whether it's changes in staff, such as our city managers or magistrates or budget people, whoever it is. We've had changes all the time. But most importantly, I've been there to make sure that the mainstay, that is our small hometown character of Stuart, that we continue to work with that and work with the comprehensive plan. So my experience on the commission itself, my experience in the community, serving the community, participating in organizations, and my experience as an attorney. I think all of those things, the training that I received from the Florida League of Cities, whether it's ethics training, whether it's how to deal with public records, how to deal with other commissioners, how to be able to access funding and to reach out to other entities such as our congressional persons or senators or state representatives, all of those things. And I have those connections already in place. So I believe that that puts me in a different category from my opponents who, to the best of my knowledge, they have no experience. When I started this job, I also didn't have experience as a city commissioner, but I had experience as an urban planner with Martin County. I did the first comprehensive plan for Martin County under Rule 9J5 in 1985. We did the long range planning for transportation, for land use, for all kinds of things. So I had that level of experience. And I also had connections with members of the community, whether it's the legal judiciary community members of the community, or just people who are in a community organization. So I have been involved with all of those things. From House of Hope to the homeless, for the Habitat for Humanity, their United Way of Martin County, Salvation Army. I mean, I just could list like 30 agencies, Molly's House, all kinds of agencies. So I am involved and I'm active with the community and participate in the community and being on the board of directors of many organizations, Boys and Girls Club, the Audubon, Seroptimus, the Women's Club, AAUW, and like I said, my church, St. Monica's Episcopal Church. I really believe that those types of experiences and those types of connections distinguishes me from my two opponents.
Now, Eula, what do you believe is the single biggest issue facing the city of Stuart over the next 4 years, and what specific steps would you take to address it?
So we have several issues, but I think the crux of it comes down to going back to developing that trust between public, those who are in the public as public servants, and with private citizens. I think that that is walking and talking to people. There is so much misinformation, so many things happening. So communication, we have to find a better way for the city to directly communicate with residents and get input from residents. Yes, we have our meetings, they're advertised, and we have Facebook pages, we have our website and other things. But I think getting that information out, that's single, that's underlies all the other things, that underlines transportation issues, that underlies our relationship with Martin County, whether we're dealing with Martin County on homeless issues or on big transportation issues such as the Brightline, the railway access and location of a station. All of those things again go back to basic communication and developing trust. So I think some of the things that I've discussed are the ways that we need to find a way to work with our citizens to, whether it's to send them out a text message, or to, people have suggested put in some basic things on the utility bill, or doing another mail, or mailing is an expensive thing now. Not everybody has Facebook or email or whatever. Most people have a phone that has a text message. And even then, it's still hard to express everything in one small text message. So there's always going to be the opportunity for misunderstanding. The other thing that I'd like to really work on, and I thought that when we had two new commissioners come in, I think within the past 2 or 3 years, that we would have done that. But instead, we went into a zip. But even with the zoning in progress, I thought we would have been able to do that. That is to actually go back and go through the comprehensive plan and look at the goals that have been set and see where we are and what we've achieved. And we're going to be doing an evaluation appraisal process soon. And that's good because we need to do that. But that's what we need, because the vision of the community may have changed. I've seen a lot of new people come into the community. And so we need to look and see what we have and what staff is working with. Staff is working with the policies that are in the comprehensive plan. And if there's something that needs to be updated with the vision. But other than that, staff is working well. We have a lot of projects that people are implementing. And I think that we're fine. We don't need to create all kinds of new things. We just need to work and implement and do the things that need to be done. And when we hear from residents about ideas that they want to pursue, we can work with those, see how they fit with our comprehensive plan, see how they fit with our vision of Stuart. So that's it. I think I have said that the communication with the public is one of the biggest things, because when you have lack of communication and that leads to lack of trust, that breaks down everything else that you want to do.
One thing that a lot of residents have been asking for communication wise is that email portal like the county
Yes.
has where you can see commission and the manager's
And
emails.
and that's fine with me. If we can create that, that's something that can be created. It just has to be used wisely, just like Facebook, I believe, has to be used wisely. Facebook is not something where you say, I'm going to vote next week to cut down all the trees on 189th Street. I say that because nobody has 189th Street in Stuart, so they can't say I'm talking about their street. And that sends a message to other commissioners, and it sends a message to residents that this person is all powerful, all this. And if they say that's what's going to happen, and then if it does come to be, then that's what it is. It's not like I like to hide my hand or anything. I tell people they ask me what my opinion is on certain things. I tell them, I do not tell them how I'm going to vote on something. And I think that we still need to have that ability there. And I know that people look at other people, they look at Congress or they look at the state legislature and they see how other people function. And those function in a different category from where I believe our city functions. And I think that type of communication has caused a lot of dissension in our community versus unity. So I think we have to be careful how we use that. But if it's already emails that somebody's sending or responding to something, and another resident wants to see what did this person respond or how did this person do this, fine. I don't have any problem with it.
Growth continues to be one of the biggest topics in Stewart. In your opinion, what is the right balance between commercial business growth and residential housing growth?
Okay, so that's one of the things that we need to find out. Somebody needs to go ahead on and define the word growth to me and what it means. I'm an urban planner, and when we talk about growth and development, we're talking about places, and this time I'll use a name, such as Port St. Lucie. If you watch Port St. Lucie, I came here when it was 25,000 people in Port St. Lucie, and now it's probably almost 300,000. But they've had acres, whether it's 100 acre, or 200 acre, or whatever, and they have planned that, and they've planned it for a certain community or certain village. And to me, that's growth because you can see the change. Stuart, over the years, has pretty much remained the same in terms of population. We don't have a lot of open space and a lot of unused land with designation for high levels of growth or increase in population or increase in commercial density and so on. So the growth that has happened, I believe most of it, there's growth, there's been some development in Stuart that has occurred, but a lot of the impact that we see, especially with traffic, is, in fact, you ask the people downtown, they need people to come into their stores. They need people to take advantage. You go along US 1, whether it's, for example, right before the Roosevelt Bridge and right above the Roosevelt Bridge on the north side, none of those businesses are overflowing with business. So people, we need to have compact urban services and people to use the facilities. So if that's growth, then that's growth. But the the businesses are there and they need to be patronized and we need to use them. What we see is people, we all those almost 300,000 people who come from Port St. Lucie to the doctor, to even to schools, to different things in Martin County, to entertainment in Martin County. Not that we don't want them, but I'm saying this is what we're seeing. And so that growth is not from some plan or something that we're doing at the city. We know what we have on the books and we know what our population is and what our final population will be, which is probably less than 30,000 at our maximum build out. So when we talk about growth, we're not talking about the city of Stuart becoming 70, 80, 90, 100,000 people. We have not been annexing any county property. In fact, if the chair that you're sitting on, if you put your hand at the side of the chair, you can just pretend that that chair is the city of Stuart, and right on the side of the chair there are areas right there that people think that's in the city of Stuart, whether it's on Monterey Road, whether it's on US 1, both north and south. And no, they're in the county. They're not in the city. So
Right.
people believe that some areas are in the city, but it's not in the city. Just because they have a Stuart zip code doesn't mean that they're in the city limits. And so, with regard to growth, I say we have a comprehensive plan. We've been approving development based on our comprehensive plan. When we've had changes to the comprehensive plan, whether it's a land use change or whether it's something within a planned unit development, all of those we work hard to follow the guidelines that are set out by the state as well as what's in our comprehensive plan. So the growth issue, we don't have any overgrowth or overdevelopment as far as I'm concerned. We are staying within the height limits. There are some things that happen if it's under section 102 and those folks come in, and again, if they're following the state guidelines, that is what our voters of the state of Florida voted for, our legislature voted for. And that's when we have to work as decision makers to balance what we do in the future.
Now, many residents also feel infrastructure has struggled to keep pace with the growth around us. What infrastructure improvements should be the city's highest priority over the next 4 years?
Of course, we have the bridge, the railroad bridge going through the city of Stuart, and we have a passenger train that's using the railroad bridge as well as the freight train. So I think if we can get some federal dollars, and some communities have refused federal dollars, some people don't like federal dollars, whether it's for housing or for transportation, but we do need federal dollars for that. And we also need federal dollars for drainage. We're lucky. We're here on the river, on the waterfront, and we laud ourselves. We live in paradise. We're on the waterfront. However, we're not like some communities that we've seen in the Carolinas or Texas or other places where even in Florida, where they've gotten flooded so badly. So drainage improvements are absolutely important. And when we do road work and we put in drainage because it hasn't been there, or when we try to underground some utilities. And these are very, very expensive things. And when we talk about the potential to not have as much dollars if we get into the property tax issue, whether or not the state of Florida will pass that regulation, then we're going to see less money being collected at the local level to deal with big issues like transportation, whether it's expanding the roadway or making the roadways more amenable for people to have bicycling and walking and other things in certain areas, to have a good network of that, so that that will hopefully take some of the trips off the roadway. But yeah, that's important. One thing again, it has to do with transportation, is that the DOT has been looking into Monterey Road and whether or not we would have a flyover, or have a flyover there or anywhere in Martin County, or at least anywhere that would affect the city of Stuart.
Hmm.
And so being involved in that regional planning, and the level where we become the sponge that absorbs a lot of regional growth, and then the dealing with it happens right in our town, because we're like at the crossroads to a lot of things. We're the crossroads to the beach, we're the crossroads to the north and south, and we're the crossroads to Palm City and anything west. So it happens in Stewart, and we get all of that, and we're like right where the seasoning goes into that melting pot, and we're right there.
You had brought up the train. Do you support the current Brightline station agreement? And do you believe the proposed station location is the best location for Stewart?
Well, you're saying the Brightline agreement with the county. The county has an agreement, and I know that we had an agreement to help work with them to have a facility in Stewart. I agree that we do need to have a facility in Stewart. If we need to do more work as to where that facility should occur, because we may have constrained roadways and constrained ingress and egress to facilitate, whether it's people coming in, whether through taxis or Ubers or whatever, and not to create nightmare. But I think that somewhere in our city, and especially close to our downtown, if we can work that out. I've gone to the stations, whether it's Boca Del Rey and other places. Some of them are a little bit west of some of the main town areas, but and that's because of the nature of how the train
Right.
goes through those cities. But after you go in and out, even in West Palm Beach at Tamarind, I don't see I haven't seen any major traffic issues when you go in and out of the train station. So I think that we could work with something. I was in full agreement with the location there at the courthouse. I do agree that it has some constraints and it has some issues, but if we can work on something, I do believe that the county needs to continue to work to find a good location. And if the city of Stewart can work with them and find that somewhere within the city limits, I will be willing to work with them. But because I know that we were all there with All Aboard Florida, and we wanted to push to say, let the passenger train go west. It's here now, but let's at least try to see how we can make it work, because the county does have that agreement in order to facilitate something. I think by 2028, they need to come up with something. So at least I think it was supposed to have been in by 2028, but now we have a little bit of a delay. So I think that there are many people who are not for having the train station here in Martin County or within the city of Stewart. And there are many people who would just want to, if you and you could get off right now, and by 11:30 you'd be someplace in Miami or Fort Lauderdale, no stress, no car driving, and then you'd be back here by 2:30, and you'll be good. I think the train will take a lot of the long term is climate change and using all the fuels that we use. And so if we can just do our little part to that, I think it would help. Now, like I said, we do have impact from other communities. And we know that people from, whether it's Okeechobee or Port St. Lucie or Juno Beach or Fort Pierce or wherever the communities are, people may come here and use the train station here. I don't think that there's a glut of people running from Martin County down to West Palm Beach to use the train station right now. Some people do, but I think that I guess it will balance out, but we really have to know what it is. So, it could be Salerno, South Stewart, Jensen, or we can find the right location close to the downtown. It's good to have a train station in the downtown. I mean, that's the crux of somewhat good planning, to have the train station in the crux of the downtown. You go to your New York, your Chicago, your Paris, London, all these other places, because as people come in and out, and that's where the business and the commerce is. There's no problem with that. We just have to find the right fix right now for Stewart. And then that fix has to match with what is existing on the ground and what is happening. I know that we have our city hall complex, in which is we're moving to in front of the new amphitheater and memorial park.
Mhm.
And so there's more activities which are going to be in that area. And we just have to, that's something that people don't want to have consultants to do certain things, but I think that we owe it to the citizens to look at it professionally and deal with it in that way, in terms of traffic and congestion and what the potential will be for the railroad station there. So I think that Regional Planning Council did a good study when they suggested that location. But I think if the residents need us to go back and look at it again, but again, now this is in the hands of the county right now. But the city, anything that will impact the city, definitely we need to be involved with that response.
Next hot topic right now is those backyard chickens. It's generated a lot of discussion in Stewart. Do you support allowing them within city limits? And how do you balance
So no,
personal preference?
that's an item that's coming up. So I'm not gonna say what I support or what I don't support. I'll just say that the item that came in front of us I think it needed some more work. Plus, I believe that some people say, well, why not be like St. Lucie County? That's it, St. Lucie County. I'm not sure. I don't think Port St. Lucie has chickens. But if you're out in the county, and Martin County. So I believe that chickens are farm animals, but those are things that, it's coming up. And some people say they can be domesticated. And what's the difference between a chicken and a cat and a dog and all these other things? And those are all considerations. But because that's something that's coming up, I'm not going to give you any opinion on that except for what you've seen at the discussion at the city council, and those who can look at what we're going to be coming up with that again in the future. I don't know. I think it's after the election, so who knows if
Right.
I'll have a chance to give an input to it. But
Okay.
that's just my. I'm not going to start any world wars or end any.
Goodness, no, we don't need more wars. A proposed constitutional amendment could significantly reduce or eliminate property taxes in Florida. You brought it up a little bit earlier.
Yes.
Do you support or oppose that amendment?
Well, that amendment, again, into my first answer with regard to what is important and about the trust and the communication with people, that amendment to me is the underpinning of taking out your whatever from under you, whatever it is that you have, whatever ground you're standing on. That tears into home rule. That tears into the basic survival of local governments that depend on the property taxes to put that money out there into the general services budget for fire and police and the main essential, that's our main job, health and welfare, and then to make sure that we have orderly zoning and planning for communities so that we can keep things in good order. That is just going to cut money away from us. Some people say, well, social service agencies and others could do it. I've heard residents say, well, I can build a park, or I can donate to a park, or I can help service a park. And that's good if they have the money, but this community may have the money. But let's say community B or C that's right next door that's suffering from the same thing because they're not getting the property taxes at the level that they're supposed to get it, and they're not able to provide services. it cuts back on everything. And okay, so then the city doesn't do it. Why not let the county do it? Let the county sheriff or let the county fire department or whatever. That still doesn't answer everybody's question. And so the issue is that there'll be a shortfall and there's going to be some ways that communities are going to have to be able that we're going to have to be empowered even more to be able to assess people, and then it's just an expense, so somebody is saving but somebody is losing. And I think in the long run, when we don't have the ability to project a certain amount of income from property taxes, we definitely know that we're going to have a lower level of service. We're going to have less jobs and less opportunities. And so, if we're talking about taxing people or paying fees to use parks or to use certain services or make it more expensive, that's the only answer to it, is that somebody has to come up with the money from somewhere. Where we come up with it from, that's something that we need to discuss and get to. And I think that as the city starts their budget season, because we have to plan for the future, and that's why we only have we do an annual budget. We don't have a 2 year or 5 year. And I've asked about that before, but that's the way our charter is right now. And we just need to be able to look forward and say, when this happens, we're going to be losing certain services unless we charge more for services. And it's tough when you're in a community like ours that has a lot of homes that care for people, assisted living and that kind of thing, or we have people who are living, elderly who are living with people at home, or even our young children. It doesn't matter. People need services and help, and when you have to get an ambulance or fire truck or whatever it is there, that when that person is providing their service, they're going to be providing it as long as they're able to do it. But that's the thing, is that we have to be able to have the money to say we have adequate police and fire to help safeguard our community. And
So,
that means just more. So you get rid of taxes at one level, and then that means taxes at another level, and it's affecting more people. And the other thing, I know people say, well, not everybody's a homeowner, so they weren't paying taxes anyway, and they were getting services. But still, there's just going to be a way to find everybody could be getting back more money from the sales tax or coming up with some other different public service taxes. But that's what needs. That's the only way to save that, to get that formula, to fill the gap in that formula.
okay, so you wouldn't be looking at reducing anything in the budget. You're
Yeah,
looking for other
definitely.
ways.
So then if you can't meet, that's what I'm saying, is that we'll be losing jobs or so on. So if you can't meet the requirements, then our police, our fire, our staffing, everything gets tailored down.
Right. Okay. What would you try to protect the most out of you mentioned several. There's
Absolutely,
fire.
our police and fire. Absolutely. Health and welfare, safety, or key management people, or parks or recreation, because we need those to keep people's minds and bodies sane and solvent. So parks, recreation, but everybody's needed, because if we have any development, we need our development department. Everybody's needed. These are all essential services, but we're gonna have to. We've cut budgets before. I was there right after the 2008, 2009. I came in 2011, and we were talking then about cutting budgets so that we could. In 2012 it was all the same thing, so that we could manage and do just do what we can do. And then our budget increased again. So yeah.
Okay. Another topic, homelessness continues to be a concern for many residents and business owners. What role should the city of Stuart play in addressing homelessness while balancing public safety, quality of life, and compassion?
Okay, I'm glad you said what role, because that's that's literally what role and play, because this is such a regional issue, and it is such a hard issue that the city, and we did this maybe 3 years ago when Commissioner Campy brought up something at one of our joint city county meetings. I thought that we'd have more time to go over this, but we've had so many things and we've lost so much time, especially during the zoning in progress time at the city, so we didn't have much time to do other things and have other meetings. But homelessness needs to be dealt with by the community, both elected officials as well as nonprofits in the community. And I think the nonprofits in our community are good partners and they've been doing well so far, whether it's feeding the homeless or providing at least one bed at a time, one night at a time to those that they can help. People like Family Promise, the churches who sign up to do things. But we have we have a housing plan, but all of that between the city and the county, and especially when we don't have money from property taxes, we have to make up the time to say, let's apply for some federal money if the federal money is there. And I don't think our federal government has been putting a lot of money into housing. It's not like the 60s and the 70s when public housing was going gangbusters and you had things. It's hard to get a grant. It's very hard. We're in a unique situation in Martin County where our income levels makes it hard for us to be competitive with a small community. Let's say it's in North Florida, a small rural community that has issues. They're going to qualify better for a grant type situation. So again, we may have to look to our community partners to help provide housing and to put their own millions and millions of dollars into doing this kind of thing and to help the homeless. Some people's solution has been, let's give them a bus ticket or whatever ticket, train ticket, bus ticket to go somewhere else. That is not the full answer. Homeless people are homeless. There's a reason for it, whether it's mental health changes in their life circumstances, changes, whether it's marital circumstances or other circumstances, their job circumstances, and all of those need to be dealt with. It's not just putting a roof or finding a room at a hotel and say, go live there. There are other things that come with that. And it's a long term thing that needs specialized work and needs specialized agencies. And I think that if the county does have programs and they do provide cost plus care for people to get rental assistance and other things like that. But until we all decide in our communities that social services is important and that it's a part of one of those spokes in the wheel that makes our community go along in a cohesive manner, then there's no help. You know, we just have to decide that we want to help and we want to put money, and we've not put money to that, whether it's city, the county has, but we just need to say this is it. Now we've gotten money from developers for to put towards housing, but then it's so few and far in between, and it's the rub. So we want to help homeless people, but we don't want to have development because development is not, good for the community. But then we want to get the money from development so that we can help the homeless people. So there's all kinds of ways to manage that formula. And a lot of it has to do with let's sit at the table and let's really talk about what's going on with the elephant in the room and who support what and how we can do this without either offending the rest of our community or offending those who need the services that we're discussing, and exhorting and assisting those who are doing those things, whether it's any one of the agencies that work with United Way or other agencies. There's so many people who do so much and they're not recognized because they're not part of a government organization. But these community partners are out there every day taking care of things that people believe that government should be taking care of, but we've never put some of those formulas in our basic budgets and our basic planning. So if that's something that community members want us to push on, we have a housing plan, but then we have to put the money in there and find the money to do those things. And we have to be willing to keep up. People don't want to approach or find out when you have to do a survey during the winter time, whether it's for the census or for other reasons, for grant purposes. People don't want to go out and meet the homeless and find out where they are. So, except for those whose job it is. So we just need to be like, there's a thing that says put your money where your mouth is. And so we need to, as elected officials, if that's something that we want to do, then we need to look at that. It's in our comprehensive plan. We need to just dust that off and work with it.
Yeah. Okay. Now, every commissioner brings personal and professional experience that can benefit the city. Based on your business interest, employment, investments, or other affiliations, what types of issues do you anticipate may require you to recuse yourself because of a potential conflict of interest, if any?
Recuse myself. In my business, I do basic family law. So I don't see anything with regard to that to recuse myself. If there's anything that comes up, the recusal rules are there. If you're going to benefit personally, or if anybody directly related to you is going to. So if that comes up and if it's going to be there, but I can't tell you. No, I've never really had that issue per se. So I don't think that there's anything there.
Perfect. Campaign.
One time there was an issue, and and it became not an issue. They sent it up to the state. There were people who had applied for grants under the CDBG, and I knew people, and the state says that's not. There's a, and when I go to the ethics classes, we
Mhm.
do that once a year, and you see those things. There, if somebody is being employed by the city and they're a relative, then there's a certain part of the statutes that defines how that relationship occurs. If there's somebody who's serving on a committee of the city, then there's another thing that defines. And so you follow that. And if it doesn't apply, then you're good.
And you've been a commissioner, as you said, since 2012. So if it really hasn't come up right in the last
It hasn't
20,
come up. Hasn't come
14
up.
years, right, right. So, okay.
And again, I don't even have to say this, but when I first got on the commission and I went to the training, I'm like, oh my goodness, everybody's going to come after me now because I was a member and I'm a member of St. Monica's Episcopal Church. And Mr. James Christie was a mayor at one point. Mr. Christie was a mayor, I think, in 2012, and I was a vice mayor. We both go to the same church. We're both living in pretty much close proximity to each other. He lives on one side of Palm Beach Road. I live on the other. He's now deceased, I think, since 2018. But I thought I never a day did anything. There was no need for it. We went to church, we worshiped, we did community activities together. Never did anything come up about any type of violation of sunshine. It didn't happen. You and I have known each other, and I don't know what. I haven't said anything inappropriate or anything to you. It's just like, you have your beliefs and your ideas, and we work, we get along, and we work, and we do things together in the community, and there's no problem.
Right, right. That's hopefully the way it should be. Everybody doesn't have to agree on every issue and can still be civil and work together. So,
Yeah, I hear you.
Eula, campaign finance has become an increasingly important topic. Have you accepted contributions from developers, contractors, political committees, or organizations that regularly appear before the city?
I've accepted contributions from, I did say, developers, people who are in the community who've been uh, around and have done things. And some of them may come. And I tell you, when I say that I'm there with an open mind, I'm there with an open mind. And frankly, some of the people who come in front of the commission, some of them are maybe, no, there's probably, I don't know. Some of them are some of the most consummate professionals in the business, in their business, in the thing. So yeah, I see that, and when I have to discuss things with these people, whether it's before a meeting or at a meeting, I absolutely respect their professionalism, and I see what it is that they're bringing, whether it's a project, whether it's somebody who's done a study about birds on a project, or they're the biologist on a project. or they're the landscape person on a project, or they may be just a member of the Chamber of Commerce or even the chamber president themselves if they wanted to bring a certain type of business in the community and they're showing their support or the business develop. That's what our community is all. I believe that's what our community is all about. We need these people. We need their input. We need the guy who's down the street who has a child who's going to learn how to ride a tricycle. And they may not be a big business owner and they may not be a big developer, but all of us are here. And I think that it's important. So if you see on my list that I, I haven't looked at all of the people. Somebody else collects all of the donations. I will send out thank you notes at some point. But yeah, I have that has happened all throughout my time on the board, and I have not had any obvious conflicts or anything. If there's anything, I will be the first one to say that, and we say that, Mr. So and so. I've met with Mr. So and so, and I've done so and so, and I think that's important. When something is coming in, it's not we don't meet with somebody because we're trying to curry favor. We're meeting to learn more and to understand and to be better equipped to make decisions. And I think that if we don't talk to these people, whom do we talk to? They're the backbone. Some of them are the backbone of our community, and they they provide funding for jobs for the future. We say that we're bringing in jobs or we want to bring in jobs. Then so we need to know who's building, what they're building, or who's changing a building or doing whatever it is that they're doing. And I think it's important. I think this is a case of, one hand helps the other. Where if nobody builds anything, then our community doesn't thrive, it doesn't strive. And so I think, but everything has to be done in order. And that's why I say that when we have new people on the commission, people need to go back and go back through the comprehensive plan. And if anything needs to be updated, if the vision needs to be updated, then that's what needs to happen. But I think that I'm proud to know some of the people who are the people who bring new ideas and new projects into our community, because our community would not be the type of thriving community if they didn't bring in some of the boating things that people bring in. Some of that industry has brought in so many things. We've had changes with the way our commercial industry has. We've had the Martin Square Mall that went out of business. We have the Treasure Coast Square Mall that has, Sears and some other places closed. And now we had a fairly small development, something like Costco. And I did vote for Costco based on the land use change and other things like that. But they're here and they're in the community. And so some things will change over time and some things will replace other things. But, I'm proud of the way that our downtown is still hanging in there and needing people to always support the downtown. And it's not just restaurants. There's a lot of retail there that needs people's attention, and so people may not go to the big malls and they may not go to any new retail shops that are coming in or may have been built recently, but they have been maintained and they've been upgraded. And they're like the heart and the lifeblood of Stuart and the Treasure Coast, actually, because people come
Definitely.
and they like going there. I don't know if they spend any money, but they like going there. And to ask me about people supporting me and stuff, I'd love to get the support of the merchants downtown and other business people, because that tells me that the community is supporting me. And it's not, like I said, it's not just business people. They everyday homeowner, mothers, fathers, grandparents who are out there who've seen Stuart maybe change in the past 20, 30, 40 years. They need to say, hey, I have a say in my city and I want to be involved with this and I want to support trying to make sure that decisions are made in a certain way. So I think it's not just developers, but yes, I
Absolutely. I mean, I think personally, in my opinion, it's the commissioner's job to talk to everybody to try and understand whatever project it is better. So I think that's an attribute for sure is understanding what you're voting on. It's needed. But I'll delve into this one little bit further. How do you assure the residents who can't contribute that those contributions are not going to influence your decisions?
By letting the residents know when I'm voting fairly, I'm voting based on what the law requires me to do and and balancing that. Sometimes there's some things that we can approve, and then there are other things that we maybe still have some concerns about. And so I'm in that conflict right now, but we will work through it. We'll work through it.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely. And I've just walking around and talking to people recently during this campaign. People have a lot of things, and I when we've had town halls, I had a lot of town halls when I first got on the commission. And then, frankly, sometimes you get bombarded and you get criticized so much that it's really hard. But I think that if we have a regular system, once a quarter, once a something, where people actually come, they put down stuff on paper, and we look at their cue cards and hear what they're saying. Especially if they write it down on paper. I think when people write something down, then they don't blurt out as much when they're speaking, and so it kind of settles it. And then when they're speaking from the heart, but they're also speaking from, this is my structured idea and my comment, and this is what. And even if we listen to those and we work on them and have staff working and seeing what's happening, then we can avoid a lot of things that go on for a long time, where people end up saying, this has been going on for 3, 4, 5 years and nobody has paid any attention to it. Sometimes we don't know about it until we happen to see them, and then they tell us everything that has happened to them. I said, well, why didn't you come up earlier? Well, I didn't think anybody would listen, or the first time I did it, nobody did anything. So then I'm not going to go back again. I'm like, that's not it. So I think we need to find ways to encourage people to constantly stay in contact and provide information, and know that the wheels at City Hall, it's not that the wheels are that slow, but it's just that it does take a lot to get things done, whether it's code enforcement or other things. And so things have to be prioritized and worked with. But I think a lot of things need to be done through community. There's so many things that we can do to somewhat police ourselves,
Right.
and that will help. And maybe I'm using police in the wrong word, but to regulate ourselves and to keep ourselves up, so that if we and our neighbors can work on the big pile of stuff that's there, whether we try to clear it out ourselves or do it to a certain way where and people don't know this. They don't know that if there's white goods and something else, white goods and tree thing mixed together, the city's gonna pass it over.
Hmm.
Well, the city maybe needs to create a big sign that says, please separate your garbage and we'll be back in 2 days or whatever. Or this needs to be picked up, done something in this area. Or maybe the property owner needs to be fined to say, hey, this has been on your property. It doesn't meet our regulation for separation. And then people will start doing that. But if neighbors don't, quote unquote, police each other and we can get rid of a lot of that. Why should something stay for 5 weeks and it's theirs because it's not separated? So, and then it looks terrible and people think that a neighborhood is going down the tubes. But anyhow, so
Okay. All right. Another topic, you voted against moving the ball field referendum forward. Looking back, do you still believe that was the right decision and why?
yeah, because people keep saying, when we have whatever the answer is or whatever happens with the referendum, when another group of people, if new people come on the commission, we weren't here, we didn't have the chance, we didn't know what was going on. You know what? I think that it's important enough that if we have a full commission and we have more things and we do the proper inventory and we do the things that we need to do to get that literally to get that ball rolling, then I will do that.
As an incumbent, what accomplishment are you most proud of during your time on the commission?
I'm most proud of my involvement with the maintaining of our river. I know that I was not a big supporter of moving funds to get our attorney in that manner. I wanted us to have an attorney, but the way for the funding. But I think that that's a big thing. I also like my activities with the arts moment to keep that sense at our city county meetings. And I think that's important. But all the things that have to do with maintaining our environment, to make sure the fertilizer ordinance, working with our Rivers Group to make sure that we're constantly getting input on how we can do things better, and that's an area that I think, and especially now since we have the attorney, the environmental attorney, where we're getting input and we're very literally, slowly but surely working and getting closer to all the decision makers who will probably help us with additional funding to get things done, to truly the rivers are lifeblood. If we don't
Yes.
have a clean river, and if we don't have the potential for people to come here, and so anything that I've done to work with that, but I've done other things. I've worked with Colorado Avenue. People didn't like it. I remember when I was mayor, we cut the ribbon on the road diet for Colorado Avenue when we changed Colorado Avenue, re-landscape it, got all the CRA funds, and people thought that it would never work. And it has been working so far. So
Good.
those are important things. I've worked with trying to get a whole scheme of plan done in the East Stuart area. The Martin Luther King Boulevard is going to get the landscaping and design. The park there at 10, that's our only park in the city of Stuart that has facilities to do large activities. Most of our other parks are passive parks or entrance to the waterway like Shepherd's Park and so on. This is our only facility that has a recreation building and has activities there. And we've worked on upgrading that park there at 10th Street. And I think that's huge. I wasn't involved in the entire Memorial Park, but then the end of it, when they did the second phase of Memorial Park, and then this very last phase, I'm also very proud of that and very proud of being involved with that. So there are many things. I don't think that there's any one thing, but I say, like I said, the main thing is that constancy of saving the river, doing whatever it is, whether it's with community partners, whether it's with our funds, whether it's with state funds or federal funds. That has been at our forefront because we need to keep that, because if we don't, then that's a part of our life, but in our basic way of life and our
Definitely.
identity. If we, so
Definitely.
I think that that's important. So anything that I can or have done with regard to the river, I say that that's a highlight.
Okay. This one, what is one criticism of your tenure that you believe is fair, and what have you learned from it?
Some people are going to say lack of communication with them. And I think that I've tried hard to communicate with people, but people are going to say that that's a criticism of my tenure.
What have you learned from it?
Yeah, well, that's I've learned that you have to constantly get out there. You have to constantly be in touch with the public, and just be able to listen keenly and to try to follow up as much as possible. And you will not be able to please everybody, and you'll not be able to listen to everybody. I know that there's so many things that have come to the commission, especially with regard to the use of CDBG funds, CRA funds,
Mhm.
and there's been a lot of criticism on those issues. But I think again, we have a plan and we're trying to work with our plan. And that's why we meet and we try to have consensus
Right.
on matters.
Is there any vote or decision from your current term that you would handle differently today?
Wow, heavens, that's a good thing. I will think about that for for the, if somebody else asks me that question. I really don't think so. Yeah, I can't think of something that I've regretted. There's some things that are currently under consideration, but like I said, I'm not going to be discussing those right now.
Right.
But no, I don't think so. I think that, well, we've had some issues when we had one city manager that we had to get rid of within a short period of time. I did vote for that person. I didn't have any at the time when I had them. I didn't have any issues with them, and I didn't have a. And that was probably like two or three, probably 3 or 4 city managers ago. But it just seems like yesterday. But I kind of considered. I looked at myself and I said, I wonder what happened there because I actually that wasn't the person of my first choice. We had gone through a big national search. He wasn't my first choice, but that was what the majority of the commission wanted at the time. And I think this person lasted like less than 6 months or something. And that has kind of given me a little bit of pause and concern. But so far, other than that, I haven't had any. When it comes to development, I haven't had any. No, I'm confirmed with what I voted on.
What unfinished business remains that motivates you to seek another term?
Unfinished business. So we just obtained the historic. Well, we're not yet. We're going to be area for historic preservation under the National Register, and that's going to be coming up. I don't know how long they will, if they'll do it now or in the summertime or in the fall. And that's just a designation for National Register. We have our own local designation, and we need to work more with our historic preservation guidelines if necessary. But having that and having a long-term lease, if we ever get that's on the ballot now. I can talk about it because it's not my decision. It's going to be the ballot, and we've tied it the language in the ballot in such a way that hopefully when the citizens approve it, hopefully they will, that it will really benefit the city and the Stuart feed store for a long time. So when you think of that, I think the idea of watching and working with the future for maintaining our hometown charm and getting in some guidelines with historic preservation and highlighting some things in our community that, going back in the past and bringing that to the future and well, the present and for the future. It just makes me say it's like giving a shot of something to our city of Stewart. So that is just, I just want to see how things will result. There's so many people planning murals and planning different things. And I think that that gives me the impetus to say, I want to stay involved. I want to continue to serve the city. I want to see how these projects work out. And I want to see the impact of this, especially I know, for example, for the East Stewart community, the idea of maintaining the community and of rebuilding that character of a small area that has a lot of African American history and creating things that are historically aligned to the nature of the community. I think that it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity, and I want to be a part of that.
All right. Can only give me one word here, Eula. This one's going to be tough. One word that describes your leadership style.
Firm and compassionate. One word.
You couldn't do that one word. I knew that was going to be tough. Okay, firm and compassionate. And then finally, why should someone who hasn't made up their mind vote for you? Question.
Please vote for me because I am experienced. I have good leadership skills. I've been there with the city of Stewart. I'm compassionate. I am compassionate about protecting our environment, cleaning up the river, making sure that our staff at the city feels welcome. They're not beaten up all the time, that they feel like they're doing a good job. And those things I think are important for us in our community. When you're in a community, if you're a new person in our community, we care about our community. If there's road issues, drainage issues, walkability issues, we will listen. Maybe the wheels at City Hall is a little bit slow sometimes and it has to be prioritized and put in a budget. We're here and I'm here to listen to you and to make sure that your concerns are dealt with as best as we can. And whether it's through our city manager, through different staff members. This is our small town. We care. In fact, we're not heroes. The people in the city of Stuart are the heroes. They're the ones who create the character. They're the ones who bring their own sense of self and help us with this, create the sense of place that we have that says this is our town and we want to keep it quaint. We want to keep it a place where people can enjoy with their family and they can work here and they can travel either to here or from here with a certain sense that I'm in a secure atmosphere. I'm in a safe neighborhood. I'm in a city that appreciates where I live. So if you can say that as a resident, whether a new resident or old resident, and you can say, I believe that my leaders appreciate me and appreciate the fact that they want to provide services for me, that I can live in a safe community, then yes, please vote for me.
And finally, Eula, how can voters support your campaign and learn more about you?
So I have Eula Clarke for City of Stewart Facebook page, Group 5. Group 5 is a seat. So I don't know how much time you have, but for the City of Stewart, everybody can vote. Whether you're Democrat, Republican, NPA, whether you live in Jensen Beach, it says Jensen Beach postal code, but it's City of Stewart community, or south or west of US 1, you can vote as long as you're in the city limits and you're receiving something as a voter in the city limits. Everybody can vote for us. It's just a seat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have that Facebook page, and then I have a website page that has a donation button, and they can go to that website, eulaclarke.com, and they can vote. Maybe it's Eula for City of Stewart.com. I have to remember, but they can if they go to the Facebook page, they'll see the directive to go
Right.
to the donate button. But they can donate to my campaign so that it's expensive to get out to people and to put mail-ins out to people and to prepare documents. So when people say, well, where do you get your money from? Community partners, community residents, if you want to support somebody and to help them get elected, then I think it's important. And it's not because that person is in somebody's pockets or anything, but I think it takes all of us to participate and to help each other out in whatever way we can. So I think it's important. And I'm not a millionaire, so I can't pledge that I'm going to fund this from my own pockets and I won't take a dime from anybody. I think that taking a dime from everybody is so important because that tells everybody that they're participating. They know who they're talking to. They know who they're voting for. And if everybody would do that, surprisingly, it would be a wonderful thing if people participated with candidates and supported them in that way.
And Eula, you brought up a really good point. This is Eula Clarke. She's running for City of Stewart Group 5 Commission. But folks, all the Martin County races are decided during the primary. That's August 18th this
Yes.
year. Please get out and vote. For primaries have low turnout for the voters. Let's make it a record this year. Get out, vote for your candidate on August 18th. Eula, it's been a pleasure again to have you on the show. I appreciate you taking time here this morning. And for folks out there, again, vote August 18th. And don't forget to follow the Casey Ingram Show on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube for more real talk you won't hear anywhere else. I'm Casey Ingram. Stay informed, stay engaged, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you so much, Stacy. Thank you. Get out and vote, everyone. Thank you.
My pleasure, Eula.
Thank you.